Hi, myself Arcade, but you can call me Chaos. And before we start, I'd like to give a quick disclaimer that I am not here to argue that Zenlist doesn't overly sexualize some of its characters. Because if I said that, then the only difference between me and Pinocchio would be that when I told that lie, something else got bigger. Not now! No, they definitely do. Remiel! I'm just here to use some of their character designs to explain how to make a character sexy, but still interesting. First, we need to establish what it means to do sexy right. Making a sexy character isn't exactly very difficult. Just put them in a skimpy outfit and you're done. And that type of design can get very boring very easily. A good design uses sex appeal to complement other components, not overpower them. And for that, sex needs to fulfill a purpose in the design. Evelyn, in my opinion, is one of the best examples of how to properly incorporate sex appeal into a purposeful design. She's hot, no denying that. I mean, whew, mama. But her design also tells us so much more about her. Right off the bat, it feels very professional. The whole design is neat, simple, and well kept, and gives off a really elegant vibe. This all ties into her character and personality. She's a bodyguard and a former assassin, so the emphasis on tidiness reinforces her elegant and controlled demeanor, which not only fits the way she carries herself, but also how she fights. It also creates a really nice contrast with Astra, whose design is a lot more free-flowing and open opposed to Eve's more controlled and structured look. Evelyn teaches us the role of purpose in a sexy design. Most of her sex appeal comes from clothing that emphasizes her figure, but also plays into the elegance you'd expect from someone in her position. Now, imagine if we took all of that away. If we took the elements of Evelyn's design that make her conventionally sexy, like her tight-fitting clothes, and replaced them with looser, more boxier clothes, not only would we drastically change Evelyn's silhouette, but we would also run into a couple of problems regarding her character design. When you think of an assassin, or maybe even a bodyguard, you think of someone reserved, right? Somebody who acts with precision and doesn't waste any movement. And Evelyn's tight fit helps convey that message visually, giving her a very reserved look. Now, if we were to put her in looser clothes, those same ideas suddenly become a lot more difficult to convey at a glance. Thus, the parts of her design that make her sexy also play a role in actually telling us something about Evelyn. Thus, the sex appeal is working with the design instead of being the focal point. As a great philosopher of our time once said,
sex is a spice.
You use too much of it and it overpowers the dish. But you use the right amount and it instead elevates it to a whole another level. Now, there is one problem with relying solely on purpose to make a good sexy design, as it's not as effective on skimpy designs. These designs can be very visually loud, immediately jumping at you with BAM! Tits! Which can make it much harder for more subtle elements to grab your attention. But there is a way around this, that being restraint. I'll be real. Promea's actual outfit is probably among the skimpiest in the entire game, and yet it doesn't overwhelm the rest of her design since we barely get to see it. Her holographic cloak, other than just being really cool, also doubles as a way to direct your attention towards other aspects of her design, like her almost spine-like hair and her handcuffs and collar, which, other than playing into a very obvious leitmotif, I know what you are, Hoya. You dirty dogs, also play into her potentially being inspired by escape artists. All of this perfectly displays how restraint can be used to let design aspects shine where they otherwise may get overpowered. Since, let's be real, you probably wouldn't notice most of these if she looked like this all the time. If we take the cloak away, suddenly her outfit becomes the focal point, and it very easily overpowers all the other elements of her design, forcing all the other more subtle design elements to really fight for your attention. But with the cloak in play, you get a much more distinctive silhouette while also keeping the design a lot more visually quiet most of the time. And with none of the elements competing with the body for attention, they're actually getting a chance to communicate something about Promea's character. It also creates anticipation, which makes it so that when the actual sexy bits are revealed, it's much more impactful. So ironically, one of the things that makes Promea's highly revealing outfit work is the fact that you don't even get to see it like 90% of the time. Basically, restraint should be used to balance sex appeal with the rest of the design, not to remove it. So, does ZZZ do sexy the right way? Sometimes. Not always, but every once in a while we do get a character that brings some actual nuance to fan service. Overall, I'd say the biggest takeaway from this video would be purpose. Restraint is important, but it's a tool, not the goal, and can only shine with purpose. And thus, when making a sexy character, it's important that we design the character first. A character being sexy or even skimpy isn't inherently wrong. It's wrong when that's the only thing they are, since at that point you've basically just designed an object. There should be something to be attracted to, not just attracted by. As we said, sex is a spice, not the whole dish. And just like any spice, using it correctly is what allows it to shine. That'll be all from me for today, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye.